My name is Barry Jenkins, and I'm the head realtor in residence at Wailopo. I have two real estate teams, and I wrote a book that's remained a bestseller. I'm so excited I did it right. It's so hard. That's called Too Nice for Sales. It's been 30,000 copies sold on lead conversion, and the Too Nice for Leadership is done and will be out in June.
Yeah. And you made the right decision. I tried talking him into the title Too Sexy for Sales, but he went with Too Nice for Sales.
Yes. Yeah.
It was probably the right call.
Yeah, I mean, like it was a struggle. We went to the mat on it, but we just ended up going Too Nice. Yeah, it was a vibe. So thank you,
Yeah,
Gabe.
you got it.
Like people know who you are, but let's go ahead and let them know anyway.
Yeah, Gabe Cordova, the head realtor in residence over on the Maverick side. Also, the senior director of operations over at Robert Slack, primarily meaning I get to manage just shy of 2 million lead database where we use Maverick a lot. And anything that says automated when it comes to managing hundreds and hundreds of agents in a database is welcomed. And then recently just moved my license over to JMG. So kind of in a couple different ecosystems there, but primarily just working leads, database conversion, and yeah, what we're about to talk about has been a game changer for us. So super excited.
Very cool. And then, yeah, nobody knows who I am, but I like it that way. So Brady, group
Great.
manager, leading the product team and dev team on the Maverick side. So really excited to share what we've been cooking up and show you all the powers it unlocks for your teams.
Okay, a product genius that is in the lab building some of the coolest stuff I have ever seen. So, like, don't cut yourself short there, brother.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Let's dive in. So yeah, let's talk about the agenda today. Just wanted to run through with the group here how not auto nudging actually works and our new auto reassignment function.
Sorry, I'm gonna interrupt again really quick. I just thought about this. For those can we go back one slide?
Yeah.
Can you tell we did a lot of rehearsals on this? For those watching that don't know what Maverick is, before we probably start jumping in and talking about feature enhancements and all that stuff, Maverick's really it's a system that lives within your database. Think of a 24/7 sales manager, somebody there monitoring everything that's going on from what your agents are saying to people in your database to what's happening with your appointments to coaching and helping you on what you could say better or what's going on to seeing trends when people are answering the phone to monitoring when you are losing people in your pipeline that might be slipping through, which is what we're going to talk about here, our rules and alerts and everything within Maverick. But in all, I mean, that's just even a tidbit of what it does, but an overall, 24/7 monitoring what's going on in your database so you don't have all these manual checks to see where you're losing money and where you're missing out on opportunities. And probably, and if you're a team, well, which a lot of people are in building teams, also which are the people on your team that you should be feeding, giving more opportunities. So again, you're just increasing conversion, increasing ROI, and working a lot less in the process. So I don't know what's your version or your 60-second, Barry?
On Maverick or on the agent accountability?
What it is before we start talking about feature specifics, I guess.
I used to log into Follow Up Boss and I would have a lot of stuff to do. I would have to see all the leads that were missed. I would have to see all the calls that didn't go well. I would have to look at all the appointments that didn't get met, weren't updated. And I would have to spend a significant amount of time figuring out where the holes were and what I needed to fix. And it was quite stressful and candidly, not comprehensive. Like you're looking at your CRM, you're like, why didn't Johnny do this? And instead of going through all of them, I'd be like, Johnny, why didn't you do this? And that would turn into a 30-minute call. Now I look at Maverick to see how my sales organization is lacking. I walk into my sales meeting empowered with exact clarity on where the holes are, my objections that my agents aren't overcoming. The appointments are now being updated because Maverick sends him a text and says, you met with Michael Williams at 2:00. Reply back 1 if you met with him. Like basically every aspect of my follow-up boss is being managed efficiently at scale. So I walk into my sales meetings and they think I've been spending days studying them. And literally it's been 15 minutes.
Yep. Love it. All right, Brady. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt. I thought maybe we should give an overview what Maverick is. Jump in.
Yeah, well timed. Well timed.
And again, the whole purpose here, right? And we'll get into the rules and alert system and then the automations is to empower you with actual metrics and data, right? Like, so now it's not, well, I saw this one thing wrong to Barry's point, but it's a sample and I don't know if you're doing it 100 times. And then the agent can just say, okay, I fixed this one thing while 99 of the other things are still burning, right? Like, So you actually have stats. You can say, okay, yeah, 50% of your leads have missed calls right now that you didn't return. That's like, 45 different leads that you have to go and do a follow-up with now, right? And you just have that data. It's just provided to you every single day, every time you log in through text and email, right? So that's the whole purpose, is data-driven decision making, not vibes, right? And so going into rules and alerts really quick before we talk a little bit about auto-nudging and auto-reassignment and the big change here, right? Rules and alerts was a system that basically did that scanning. So it has existed since Maverick has existed for several years. You'd set up a rule, we allow you to customize it. You can basically monitor pretty much any activity that you want within the CRM, stage changes, calls, texts, agent behavior, tags, right? Combinations of those things. You can target specific sources. So if you want to know, hey, this particular team, that's my Zillow Premier team or my, RDC team that's handling MVIP leads, like, are they doing their jobs? Are they responding quickly, right? And so before the automations, you had to have somebody go in there, click a button, look at a couple reports, nudge some folks, pull some reassignments, send them to a pond, right? So it was giving you all the data, but you still had to take the manual action. So that's the big change now is we've basically automated all of that nudging and reassignment. So you can set up rules, set it and forget it. It's kind of like your SLAs, your service level agreements with your external clients that your agents should be holding themselves to. And now it's completely automated, essentially. So
to be clear though on that, there's multiple rules. We're not going to go into like a full-on demo here or anything. And you can pick and choose which rules you want to automate. So there might be some you still want to be manual, to have a manual review before nudges go out and all that. But
that's
now
right.
you have the option to be able to set those up, which has made it really, really nice.
So once we get through just very brief how it works, we'll do an actual look at how a team operationalizes this, their full accountability loop, look at some results, talk about some example rules, and then we'll take a Q&A. So yeah, we already talked a little bit about this. Again, what is the issue? Why do rules and alerts systems exist, right? And I'm sure everybody here is familiar with this. I know Gabe and Barry are from before Maverick times, right? Like agent, you get a hot lead, again, your Zillow Premier group, they, have a follow-up that they need to do. They don't do it because they get pulled in a million different directions. They have contracts to sign and TCs to talk to and other things to do. And so it's that kind of focus problem, right? Like, okay, I'm focusing on my live pipeline and trying to get those to close, but I'm not focusing on my prospecting right now. And I just, get the kind of horse blinders on a particular task, and I'm letting another portion of it burn. And so this system is meant to help you to take off those horse blinders, help your agents take off those horse blinders, and basically be able to walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. You can still push your deals through to a close, and you can focus on your prospecting pipeline and make sure you're moving people down the funnel, right?
I think there's something here too that I want to point out, and it's been in some really cool rooms lately, chatting with some team leads and what we're doing. And I think when we do this, if you're watching and listening, okay, well, I do that, or I jump in, or like Barry and I talk about, there were times when we do it, or we had a sales manager. But if we're honest, everybody's wearing a lot of hats, and like that third bullet point over there, the consistency, right? Now this is giving, even when it was manual, we ended up hiring somebody to do it, so that was their full-time job. Like we had a VA doing this, but we had to get consistent. Now you have that. So if you're thinking about this, yes, a lot of times we do it, and you could go in and manually pull it and spend all the time doing it, which you shouldn't be. But you're still probably not consistently doing it. And I think that's where you start seeing real changes, consistent changes that last.
Well, and let's be honest, there are some things that a few days can go by that aren't a big deal. The one that kills me every week is the leads are calling my agents back.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. We're going to get there.
And my agents aren't getting back to them. And the fact that, my agents are, I'm able to monitor these different scenarios using Maverick, and I get to customize them. And I don't want to steal a thunder, but for me, this nudging process, look, I don't want to misspeak, but it's actually the most valuable thing that Maverick does for me. When I used to hire a human 50 hours a week just to sit in the database and look at missed opportunities. And people that are listening to me that have at least one salesperson know the pain that this solves. It's not like, wow, I didn't know agents don't always do their job. Like, it's obvious to us because someone that's good with people normally is not good with updating systems. And so there's a massive gap here in our industry that I'm so excited that software like this is solving.
And I think you're absolutely right about that, Barry. I mean, I think it really is our banner feature. Just to talk through a couple of other things quickly, like and kind of the process flow, I think, for a broker, right? So yes, obviously you have live leads, live deals. Why aren't those getting closed? Why aren't the leads being responded to? Like that's the most critical day-to-day operational piece. And that's why it's our banner feature, because this is solving for specifically that thing, right? I think that some of the other things like the, call grading and the coaching, yes, that's like, okay, are we saying the right things on the phone? And again, those two things could be related, right? Like, okay, maybe I'm not moving things down the stage pipeline the way that they should be because I'm not having the right kinds of conversations. And then from there, backing out even further, okay, we're now following up with the leads, we're following up and making sure the deals are closing, we're moving things down the pipeline effectively with rules and alerts. I'm making sure that we're having the right kinds of tactical and strategic conversations on the phone to make those things happen with the call grading and the coaching, the AI coaching that happens. And then there's even further like questions that are at a higher level for the broker, right? Like, do I have enough people? Am I buying the right lead sources, right? And so it's kind of an onion, right? Like, yes, we have the banner feature, and that's what you're going to be using every day and really solving all of your tactical problems from day to day. But those will like lead to bigger strategic questions for your team, and that's what the rest of the reporting suite and the AI call grading and coaching are for. So yeah,
Well,
that's exactly how I see it all interrelated, but I definitely see that one at the top of the hierarchy, like you said.
yeah, and like I mean, and so I don't want to just pass over this because for me, it's like okay, this is another thing I got to spend money on, but like this is a problem for every sales organization. Their best salespeople are typically a hot mess, and so then when you're sitting down with your salespeople, you're looking for where the fall off is. So as an example, if you have somebody that is just gregarious, they love people, they meet them, never met a stranger, they're crushing it, but they're not making a lot of money, right? And they're likely not updating Follow Up Boss or their CRM to, give you insight. So I had one salesperson that was setting a ton of appointments. They were crushing it by getting the conversation that I told them to get, setting those appointments. They were meeting with people and none of them were turning into anything. And it was because after the appointment, there was zero nurture strategy. And because they weren't updating the system, I didn't see that. All I saw was met with client, met with client, met with client, met with client. And I was like, dude, you got like 20 people in here that you're meeting with. What's happening? And that discovery showed massive gaps in how they were approaching their follow-up after the appointment. They weren't connecting them with the lender. They weren't going to the house to walk the property. It was just like, and all I had to do was find out about it to tell them this is why you're not making money. But the discovery of that is really difficult at scale. Like, especially if you're a small team, you're still selling houses yourself, So to have all this data to where you can kind of like just be spoon fed where your revenue blockers are, it's been a game changer for us.
Definitely. So going back to the auto nudging here for a second, right? And what this big sea change is in the automations. So we talked about it a little bit, just to reiterate it, right? It's a 24/7 monitoring system for your CRM and your leads and the activity. And instead of having to go in and, every day go and see, oh, okay, they breached this, they didn't do that, they missed the service level agreement here and clicking buttons, you just say, hey, if it hits this threshold, send the notification. Nobody needs to touch it, right?
Right.
And so now you can just focus purely on the coaching aspect, on going to those sales meetings, looking at the bigger picture, metrics and making more strategic calls about your business rather than being too wrapped up in the day-to-day tactical that we have. And so the latest move that we've done is before we did just the nudges, right? So just the notification out to the agents. Hey, we noticed you missed a call and you didn't return it within a certain amount of time. Please do that. Now we have the auto reassignment as well. So you can now set additional rules that basically say, hey, if they receive that nudge, they didn't take an action, it's been a certain amount of time, it's just kind of sitting here, it's time to yank and throw back to a pond or give it back to another agent or an ISA or whatever you want to do, right? And so now that is on two different timers that you can select. One for a max number of nudges. Hey, we already nudged you 3 times. It's been 3 days. It's been a week, whatever your nudge cadence is. Sorry, it's got to go back to the pond, or a day since past due, right? So now we don't necessarily care about, how many nudges you've received, but we've said, hey, we sent you at least one nudge on a Monday. It's now been 2, 3, 4, whatever number of days. You can set whatever you want. Time to yank it and throw it into the pond. So That's
the key part of that is everybody can customize that to theirs, right? So they want to make sure we're not saying this is automated and we chose for you. You go in and set your parameters based on your call cadence, your follow-up cadence, whatever it is for your team.
Exactly. Customized to your business operations.
Yep. Love that.
So talking a little bit about the full accountability loop, I think we've covered some of it, but with the, automated nudge and reassign, right? You have the rule triggers, your automatic nudge now fires as a result of the rules that you set up. The agent then takes an action or doesn't. Again, that threshold hits for the auto reassign, and then it yanks and gets back to a pond and somebody else works it. So now you never have one agent who's maybe got 50, 100, 200 leads in some cases I've seen, and there's just actions not being taken and they're just sitting there with nobody knowing what's happening to them. They will always be constantly shifting around the system to try and find an agent with capacity who can then take the appropriate actions to move that lead down the funnel. So this is like the safety net for your entire lead pipeline, basically, right? Yeah, cool. So metrics, what are we actually seeing here? So we actually saw our completion rate on the nudges go up. We have a huge amount of volume of nudges going up as well. So teams are
and these numbers, Brady, I'll put some context. We're saying these are actual numbers pulled out of Follow Up Boss CRM people using. So this isn't like theory what we're doing. We're actually talking numbers that we
these are real metrics, exactly, that we're pulling from real teams who are using the automated systems. So again,
wait, so we didn't make this up then?
No,
I'm just kidding.
Yes, just to be very clear, these are real numbers that we did actual data analysis on. Yes, we saw much higher average days to complete before. So again, on the manual nudging, which was not always the most consistent because it required somebody to log in and take the actions. And again, there wasn't that kind of like, okay, we're nudging you day 1, we're nudging you day 2, we're nudging you day 3 consistency. We saw a much higher average days to complete that then came down significantly to 8 days on average. And again, think about the extreme outliers on that. There's going to be some lower funnel ones where it's okay if it takes a little bit of extra time to, send out that follow-up. And then that's also the ones that get the immediate 1-hour response. So that's all leads kind of across the board. And then again, just a huge amount more nudges going out, a huge amount more resolutions being done as a result of these automations going into place. And just
I love it. So right, there's an increase in the nudges going out because I think this is going back to kind of what I was chatting earlier. It's consistent, it's automated. It's not now just when you choose to do it, which now is every time we'd go in and manually do it. And before we were consistent, before we hired somebody like Barry to actually do this, we saw an increase. We saw a lift, right? Because there's more nudges, things are happening, and it's a nudge. It's not like you're in trouble. It's like, hey, you might be missing this. Like it's the same, we nudge anybody when you're about to step off a curb, you're about to touch something that's hot, whatever, right? We warn them it's the same thing. And because it's consistent, yes, it's an increase in the nudges, but now the resolutions, right? Yeah. I think that's what's just critical here is just when you're consistent, you get the benefit.
Yeah. And because of this feature now being automated, right? And you're going to go into what that looks like and all that in a minute. It's now been baked into my team's KPIs. They have to have a certain number of calls, a certain number of leads, and I'm only allowing them a certain number of leads that are out of compliance. I now have a third category in my sales organization that if they want live transfers from our AI that's calling and texting leads, the only way they can get it is meeting these 3 KPIs weekly. And one of them now is because of this. Dude, you got 30 leads that you're not keeping up with. I don't want to give you live transfers this week. Go figure your stuff out, right? And then maybe next week you can get on some stuff. So and I think it really reorients our entire business because as an industry, we're so focused on what's new, like new leads, call the new leads. But if you're working PPC or Facebook leads, I would argue that if my agent only has 30 minutes to call a week, let's just say, which they don't, but let's say they did, I don't want them calling new leads. I want them calling all the stuff that they've already worked that they're not excited about. Because I know that's where the money is. Having this automated has given my entire business workflow a way to be more efficient and revenue focused as a business.
I want to add one more on there too, because we've all seen it. There are team leads. There are going to be team leads on here right now. We're rewatching this. I'm nervous to nudge. I'm nervous to reassign. I'm going to upset my agent. And at the end of the day, as a team lead, the agent is my internal customer, right? I get that. I've been a team lead for 20 years now. I get it. Here's the other great thing. Not only are you seeing the lift in the consistent nudging and reassign because it's automated, here's the other thing that happens. And I think this goes to anything when you're whether it's a kid or a pet. And when you're consistent in the corrections, it becomes habit. If you say no once and then you let them do something over and over and over, and in a few weeks you say no again, it's that shock again. Right now I'm mad. But when you're consistent, it just becomes part of your culture, Barry. Like what you're just saying, it's not a punishment. Now this is just how it's done. But when you're inconsistent with it, are you not only getting the benefits of being consistent, but you're kind of pissing off your agents every now and then because you're not consistent. Get there, and now you don't have that fear of doing the nudging or reassigning because it's just part of what you're doing. And most of these agents are coming to us saying, "Hey Barry, I'm coming because I want leads, I want opportunities and coaching and tech and all that. Help me." Just set it up and do it the right way, and you won't have that fear of nudging or reassigning leads because it's part of what helps everybody close more deals.
Well, I think there's a really critical follow-up point to that, Gabe, too, which has always been sort of my thing in the back of the head while I'm thinking about the nudging system, especially when I'm talking to teams, which is, again, you're setting a service level agreement, right? So if you're saying we're going to get back to every client within 24, 48 hours, something like that, every nudge is actually the team not achieving that, right? And so the ideal, if you have the consistency and you're enforcing the standard and the agents are starting to internalize it, is eventually you won't have any nudges, right? Maybe one, maybe two here and there, right? Like real emergency scenarios or whatever. But like you should be every single month seeing the number of nudges start to go down because the team has started to internalize, oh yeah, I need to follow up with all those guys. I need to like reduce my lead load to a reasonable level where I can actually make all the follow-up calls that I need to make, and I shouldn't be hoarding these leads, right? Like, so there's that kind of mentality shift that happens as a result of using the nudging and the reassigning, where now agents are starting to think, am I kind of at the right mix? Am I doing the follow-ups at the right cadence? And now I don't need the nudges. The training wheels can kind of come off, right? And I'm only getting it when I'm really messing up or really missing something critical, but it's not like, half of my lead volume is nudged now, right? So, yeah.
Well, yeah, and actually, I haven't, like, when I saw this slide earlier, I'm probably gonna redo some of my timing a little bit because I really like the way that you guys have, set this up. But what this does, just another downstream impact of you automatically managing your database this way. I have a top performer that is your typical top performer, right? Diva, he knows it all, and I make a lot of money off of this agent. But he got really bogged down with all of these, and he came to me. He's like, "Dude, I'm getting nudged like crazy," and I was like, "Well, tell me about your day." And he's like, "I'm slammed," and he has a full pipeline. And I said, "Can I just offer a suggestion?" I said, "For a little while, why don't we just take you off of new leads? Let's let you get caught up and let's let you close out your pipeline. You've got 4 months of business, both with people you're showing, listings that are coming, and all of these people you've already been working." He's like, "Yes, absolutely." Well, what did that do for me, right? I now can take those leads and distribute them to more agents. So I'm now scaling. I just doubled the size of my second team without increasing the lead volume because I'm more efficient now. And so if you're a team owner that is consistently tasked with buying more and more new, this actually allows you the freedom to not have to buy as much because you're just running a more profitable and efficient organization.
You nailed exactly what we were talking about earlier in a real situation, Barry, which is, again, like the rules and alert system. Sure, it's the kind of like day-to-day tactical thing that you're looking at. And again, it's leading you to make decisions for individual agents. But then you're taking that learning, you're zooming out and saying strategically now, okay, this agent's not hoarding 6, 7, 8 months of runway for himself while other agents are drowning with like no runway at all. I can actually take what I'm doing and redistribute it strategically across the business. And it's interesting because, again, data analysis we did for a prior project, the finding was teams that have Maverick are actually distributing their lead flow more effectively and getting more efficiency across the entire team, as opposed to the very typical old school brokerage where you have only the very high performers and then everybody else who just doesn't have enough, right? And there's just this complete divide. And so that's the exact mechanism that distribution is actually happening through Maverick, right? So yeah, really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, just wanted to, again, show this example rule framework. Again, this is what we've seen when we are starting out with a team that's starting to build rules and alerts into their operation plan and using the automated nudges and reassignments. So again, just a daily 9 a.m. missed inbound call with a nudge sequence and a threshold for an auto reassignment. active client momentum. So again, moving that pipeline. And again, don't have to even do an automatic reassign for that. Those are usually their leads, their clients. But again, it's a good point for you to say, okay, do they have too much? Do we need to do a rebalancing? Money in the follow-up, again, kind of long nurture. Maybe they don't need to be every single day. Those can be a little bit more, cadence throughout the week. And then again, this is the critical one. Again, we just talked about appointments. I think Barry mentioned it, appointments with unmet outcomes. So again, are you seeing a bunch of appointments come through where they said, okay, they blew me off. Okay, did you do anything with it? Did you follow up and
Right.
reschedule? Did you actually take an action, or are you just letting those burn? Right? Because
Brady, you
that's
know this is my soapbox. It's not even did they blow you off. Like a lot now that you can see this and find them in real time. We have inspected this. This is literally one of my just pet peeves, and it's every day. It's not even blow you off. It's we're finding phone calls and texts that are like, "Hey Barry, something came up, can't make it today. Let's reschedule," and they're never rescheduled. Like it's not even like the worst case scenario blow. It's just like literally not monitoring the outcomes of appointments, and it blows my mind because we spend so much time talking lead gen and scripting and processes and everything to get to that appointment. And so many funnels are broken right here because
yeah.
they don't have some sort of automated rule or alert or metric to have the visibility needed to see what's happening that low in the funnel. And it's critical.
Yep. And that's again, you paid for that lead, you worked that lead, you put all the hours into, validating that that lead was ready, scheduling
Yeah.
the appointment, and you get all the way to that critical step and then it just falls apart. Like that's
Yeah.
so much
Right.
investment in the lead that
It's
then
lack of visibility. It just comes down to
yeah.
lack of visibility right there. And nothing against Follow Boss or other CRMs. It's just, it's harder to monitor once it gets to that point because things become more individual on your calendar, things like that. And Maverick still pulls that data out. So anyway.
Well, and look, I mean, I don't know about your agents, but I've trained mine. When they go into their CRM, they are trained to go to the people list first, right? Like that's where your stuff is. That's where all your lists are. And so then there's so much clamoring for your sales team's attention. So I feel like the whole industry has been oriented around finding new stuff. Meanwhile, like we're spending hand over fist to create these opportunities for our sales team. So having this thread the needle in that regard, it really, and I'm doubling down on these nudges because it's as I've stated once, like it's afforded me a new consistent layer of, hey, you're not doing what I need you to do. Let's talk about it. Like I didn't have that visibility before.
Yeah. Or again, you had to go and do like 18 hours of digging through Follow-Up Boss and you'd only see a sample and
I wasn't.
it's a
I
nightmare.
wasn't. Yeah, I mean, I'll just be honest. I wasn't. Like,
Yeah.
At least with the small team. With the large team, I had to hire someone, pay them, 60, 70 grand a year to fill that gap. And now, I've taken that same person, and now their time is devoted at that larger team. It's devoted to teaching.
Yeah.
So instead of devoting time to finding, and then I do the teaching. Now the software is doing the finding, the humans are doing the teaching, and Maverick's helping with the teaching with the role-playing bot. But now I don't have to do anything, so it's great.
It's reactivity to proactivity, right? It's like instead of hires all the time, now we can actually see strategically, okay, here's moves we should be making before it becomes an issue, right? So
I really, and the reason why I've kind of I keep interjecting this business development implication is I want the people that are listening to this to understand that this isn't just another aspect of noise. If you can take this and operationalize it in your business, you won't be the same. And I'll just tell you now that I'm on my second team leveraging this, because I have two operating in the Maverick ecosystem, it's a consistent change in how we run our business.
Definitely. Last one here, and then we'll move on. So the unresolved nudge, this is where it gets a little meta and gets a little fun. So again, you're sending out all these nudges, and then we're counting, okay, how many times have you received a nudge? How many times? How long has it been since the nudge was sent for the resolution that you haven't done yet? And so there is actually a rule in there specifically about that, showing, hey, here's all of your sent out unresolved nudges, and should we again do an auto reassign just based on that alone, even before it hits the reassignment threshold for the other one. So all sorts of different rules, all sorts of customization layers on those rules for your team to make it yours. And so just a few critical principles for automation, right? Like I think these are best practices. There's no one right way to do it. Other teams do it differently, but what we've seen work the best is kind of staggering those nudge times throughout the day. So it's not like you're getting 50 notifications on Monday morning and nothing else throughout the week. It's based on the severity, right? The frequency to urgency. Yeah, maybe missed calls first thing. So you get 10 there. Then, okay, some of your long-term nurture ones, those come a little bit later in the week once you've started to put out some of the critical fires, right? So just making sure that you're sending things as they're kind of needed and as you're resolving the initial high priority issues, right? And so
Well,
that's, yeah.
yeah, so I'll just tell you how I did this, right? So look, I'm Mr. Too Nice for Sales, right? My whole vibe is like casual and friendly. So when I rolled this out, I was like, "Hey guys, this is like the biggest FYI you've ever seen. Don't sweat the reassignment. You're good." 2 weeks go by, I'm like, "Guys, you got a lot of nudges." 3 weeks go by, I'm like, "Guys, you're not updating your nudges." Week 4, I'm like, "All right, hey, so how come you're not clearing out the nudges?" "I'm just so busy." Maybe like let's talk about getting some of this noise out of your database. You don't want these old leads. And they were like, "Yeah, we don't like Barry. Can you give them to somebody else?" I'm just going to tell you guys, I'll make up numbers just to prove my point. I had 100 out of my larger sales team that 100 leads that weren't being attended to. And the agents were like, yeah, go ahead and start taking them out of our name because we can't attend to them. And I saw relief. So it wasn't punitive. I was saving them from noise and they were relieved. And then I had my sales team call through that list. We on average set a 30% appointment rate from these old leads. It's the old style handoff, right? Salesperson A doesn't want it. Hand it off to salesperson B. They're pumped. They're excited about the opportunity. 30% of those leads, we set appointments within 7 days, all from finding gold in the stuff that my other salespeople didn't want. So that what this means is I'm recruiting and adding salespeople and just reviving and regurgitating these leads. And so it's just the biggest efficiency play I've seen in my career.
One person's trash is another person's treasure made manifest in Maverick, right?
Well, we see it all the time, right? Exactly. If we lose an agent and they leave and you move that database to somebody else, like even before all this crazy tech, like going back years and years and years, that new agent always pulled gold out of that database, right? But we just weren't in there moving things around, being consistent, getting them where they needed to. And that's what this solves.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. So Barry hit that point, gain nudge adoption first, right? Before you start going into the yanking and, you don't necessarily want to like push it all on your agents all at once. That's a really good way to do it of just, hey, we're seeing all this stuff. Do you want us to yank some stuff? Getting the buy-in and then implementing the auto reassignment as a result of that.
Well, and I would say 5% of my salespeople, maybe 10%, but I'm being generous now, really worried about these nudges because they're actually doing their job. And so they came to me and they were like, I don't want to lose my leads. And I was like, all right, when it comes time, because we haven't talked about automatic reassignment, but like for me, we reassign manually. And the agents that are really stressed out about it, I just said, all right, agent A, I see you stressed about this. How about this? When it's time to reassign, we just won't check any of your leads. Is that good? And like, I watched them and they were literally the last person that I needed to be nudging. And there's not a lot of those people, but if you guys watching are worried about that 1 or 2 people that you just know, they're going to freak out on you. There is a pathway where yes, they can still get the nudges, but when it comes time to reassignment, you can leave them out of it. And that can be a one-off conversation. Most of your agents need the automated reassignment, but the ones that don't, you can kind of shield and protect them and they are going to love you for it. And then like, think about what happened there, right? You're not giving them more opportunities. You're letting them keep the ones they have and they're grateful for it. So slow play this rollout the way that I'm saying, and it will crush.
And that's that strategic.
I think that's my next slide, right?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we'll get into that right in a second here. But yeah, like exactly. You can set up those filters specific to certain agents for certain nudge or reassign actions, certain sources, certain teams or groups within your organization, et cetera. And so that gets right into the schedule here, right? And this is kind of like the slow roll plan. Let's just try in week 1 launching the missed call and active client movements. And then a little bit after that, when people get used to the nudges, we'll start adding on appointments and the unresolved nudge and then some nurture follow-up. And then, after a month or so of getting people used to the nudging system and maybe a couple of manual reassignments just to kind of, let them know, okay, this is how this works. That's when you can then layer on the auto reassignment. So that's our proposed kind of ideal in terms of bringing auto nudging and auto reassigning onto the team. So yeah, QR code there on the right if you want to see it live in a real account and start considering it for your team. I think, again, like we said here, hugely useful tool And again, lets you do more with less, right? That's the biggest play here.
Yeah. And what's nice too is, I mean, we have some outlines here. Every week, there's, what we call it office hours, getting agents, team leads, everybody together. So you're not even having to reinvent this. Yes, you can customize it 100% for your team the way you want to do it, but lean into the community and what's going on. A lot of this has already been created and set up, and people are just so willing to share this and what's working, what's not, why they did it, what's happening because of it, and all that. So we got some great guidelines for you. Account managers will help you get this set up, take you through it. But yeah, you can customize 100% to you, but you don't have to start from scratch.
And one other example of that customization are these independent controls. And so again, on Auto-Nudge, right, like we mentioned before, you can filter on lead source type agents, groups, etc. So I only want to target all of my Zillow Premier agents for their missed calls, and I want to set a really tight deadline for them. But then for other source missed calls, I have a different deadline, right? I can even do it individually per source if I want to do that. That doesn't mean that the auto reassigns have to follow the same logic, right? And so I can do a subsection for auto reassigns. I can say, yes, nudge all of my Zillow Premier agents within 1 hour of missing a call, right? Tell them to follow up on that call. But then I can say only this critical subteam, only this, seller's lead type, as an example, or, non-sphere team leads, or whatever it is that you want to do. Then you can do that subset for the reassignment. You don't have to do all of your Zillow Premier agents, but you can too. You can do pretty much whatever you want to do in terms of setting up these rule sets. So just really deep level of customization available, both for the automatic nudging, the reassigning, and even just the SLAs, right? You can set whatever threshold you want, 1 hour, 3 hours, 1 day, 10 days. You can set whatever follow-up actions you want. I need them to call. I need them to call or text. I need them to call, text, or email, right? Like any combination of responses that you want, appointment updates, all that kind of stuff is customizable on a per rule basis for pretty much anything you want to do. So hugely flexible system. And yeah, again, we have people here to help you set those up to make it make sense for your business. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So fun.
So yeah, again, QR code is there. This is the key thing, right? Stop losing deals to inconsistent follow-up. Get that consistency. Get your team on these cadences. Establish a service level agreement. Get your metrics. Start making database decisions, right? That's the whole purpose of Maverick. And so with that, I guess, unless Gabe or Barry, you have any other comments, we'll put it over to Q&A.
Yeah. So that QR code goes to the website MaverickRE.com / go back one slide where it showed the URL just in case someone's on their phone. So that's the website that the QR code goes to. And I think with a product like this, because everybody's business needs are so unique, this is where a demo just makes a lot of sense, because you might say, well, I have this scenario or that scenario, and then the Maverick team is actually going to be able to help you to figure that out. And there's a lot that we haven't discussed. AI role play, like my agents that are not crushing it, I prescribe. They have to call Maverick and practice on bots, and then they get a score. So I had 2 agents that their conversations were not resulting in appointments. And so I said, you got to call this role play bot 5 times this week and get above an 80 score. Right. So I don't have to role play with them. I don't have to be there. I don't have to listen to it. I can just read the description and see the score. So there's all these like really interesting supports that Maverick provides my sales org that I don't have to like involve myself in, but the demo will help point to some of that for you.
Yeah. And as I was going to say, is we covered a very small part of this, right? It's a recent update and some changes and everything like that, but there's so much more to it. And a demo, just taking 30 minutes to go through this front to back to just see what really applies to your business and how it can help would be beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, any questions from the group? Anybody in chat that you do have a question? If you learned something today, I'd love you to put a Y in the chat. Just, hey, I learned something today. So I learned that Gabe is in San Jose, so I'm going to put Y.
Why? For fun. One thing that normally comes up too is just like, how long does this take to get going? How much do I have to, how much do I have to pull stuff out of Follow Boss? Everything's automatic, right? This is a really easy, clean integration. Once you decide you want to do it, really they set it up and everything just pulls from Follow Boss, your CRM. So there's really very little, if anything, that you have to do manually to get this set up. I mean, and what's great about it, and I don't remember how far back, Brady, you go. It's not even just today, right? You're wanting to do this, and now you're like, I'm curious what's been going on, or what have my agents been saying, and all that. If your calls are in Follow Boss, and when you guys come on board, guess what? You don't have to wait going forward to learn what agents are saying. Are they asking for the appointment, or who needs help, or what are the common objections on your calls and all that? I love that you start day one with what's been going on in your business and learning from it, not just waiting for things to keep happening. I think that's a big win when you get on to start seeing what has been happening in the last like 6 months or whatever that time frame is.
Exactly. Yep.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Well, good time,
All
guys.
right.
I love it. I'm excited, Brady. Great. Your team crushed it on this. Excited to have more automations. It's always evolving. So we love doing these because we get to talk about the stuff that we've been wanting for a while, working with you guys on. So well done.
I'll head back to the lab and start cooking up the next batch.
Sounds good. Thanks,
You got
guys.
it. Awesome,
Cheers.
guys. Thanks.
All right. Bye.
All right, bye.